Iam filii anci prope adulti erant. Okay, one thing to note here is that prope is just an adverb, not a preposition. So we have a linking sentence here. Filii erant adulti. And whose sons? Ancus's sons. Sed Tarquinius ipse rex creari cupiebat. Okay, subject here. Notice we have this ipse intensifying Tarquinius. Main verb cupiebat, and then creari is finishing off that verb. It's a complementary infinitive. Is primus palam regnum petiit, memorans officia privata ac publica, et benignitatem in omnes. Okay, is primus, of course this is Ancus. Palam, don't get this mixed up with an accusative noun. It's really an adverb. Oh, what a drag. Okay, regnum, direct object of petiit. Notice petiit is actually a syncopated form of petiit. Then we have this nifty participial clause starting with memorans, going down to in omnes. Okay, officia privata is a direct object. Well, actually, officia is a direct object of memorans, and it is modified by two things. Number one, privata, and number two, publica. So this ac here is a way of connecting privata and publica, but also contrasting them. So recalling both private and also some other thing, public benefits. And then we have another direct object, benignitatem, right here, and then prepositional phrase in omnes. So again, memorans is a participle with direct object 1 that's modified by privata ac publica, and direct object 2. That's why we have this et here. It's connecting the two direct objects. Magno consensu populus Romanus eam regnare usit. Okay, ablative phrase here. Subject, of course, is populus Romanus. And then we have eam regnare, which is the object of usit, because you order an accusative infinitive. And eam, of course, refers to Tarquinius. Tarquinius, Latinis bello victis, ludos magnificos fecit. Okay, subject. Ooh, what's this? We have an ablative noun and an ablative participle. Oh, I bet you recognize that ablative absolute. And then over here, direct object, ludos magnificos, adjective modifying that, and then there's your verb, fecit. Tum primum locus circo, qui maximus dicitur, designatus est. Okay, boring adverbial thing here. Subject, and then we have circo, which is a dative explaining kind of like purpose. Relative clause starting off with qui, ending at dicitur, referring to the locus, and then your main verb is, of course, designatus est. Ludi solemnes manserunt Romani aut magni appellati. Okay, so here we're talking about more things that Priscus instituted. Ludi solemnes, subject, verb, and then appellati, of course, is modifying the ludi. Magna quoque opera a rege incepta sunt, ut populus non quietior in pace, quam in bello esset. Okay, adjective magna goes with opera, so we're continuing our list of things that Priscus did. Magna goes down here, prepositional phrase by Priscus. Incepta, of course, is your verb. So many public works were started by the king. Why did he do this? So that subject, this is a purpose clause subject, and then your verb is esset. So the populace would not be quietior. Notice this is comparative. So the populace, the Roman people, would not be quieter or more sedate, calmer in pace, prepositional phrase, and then quam, of course, tells us that we've got another comparison going. In peace than in war. So apparently Priscus does not want people getting sloppy during peacetime, so he's instituting all these public works. More time to make sure you got it. So that the populace would not be more quiet or rested in peace than in war. Continuing on. Muro lapideo, urbum cingere paravit, et loca circa forum aliasque convales cloacis sicavit. Okay, muro lapideo, that is non-adjective pair, talking about some sort of brick wall. Urbum, of course, is your direct object. And then we have your main verb and its complementary infinitive. He prepared to surround or gird the city with some sort of defensive wall-like fortification. And, of course, what else did he do? Places around the forum, prepositional phrase here. Oh, and then we've got aliasque. So we've got one accusative joined to another accusative. Over here, alias is modifying this thing. Cloacis is another case. It looks to me to be ablative. And then your main verb. So he prepared to surround the city with this. And he did this to this place around the forum and to these other things. And he did these things with the cloacis. Fundamenta idis Iovis in Capitolio iegit. Okay, another thing he did. Fundamenta is your direct object of the temple. Whose temple? Jove's temple. Prepositional phrase here. Eo ferre tempore in regia prodigium mirabile fuit. Okay, eo tempore, that looks like an ablative of time when. Notice these guys go together. This is just an adverb, generally talking about that time. In regia, in the palace, prepositional phrase. And then here is your subject, prodigium. And it's linked to this adjective mirabile. So there was this mirabile prodigium. Caput pueri dormientis, cui Servius Tullius fuit nomen, multorum in conspectu arsit. Well, that's kind of dramatic. Let's see, we have the head. Whose head? Of this boy inside this participial clause. Dormientis, of course, is modifying the boy. What kind of boy? A sleeping boy. And then we have a relative clause modifying the boy. To whom? Then we have, it looks like a dative of possession because that's dative. And then we have a nominative and some form of the verb of being. So to whom the name was Servius Tullus. So this whole clause describes this little boy. Okay, and then over here, multorum in conspectu, we have a prepositional sandwich where multorum is modifying conspectu, just like this, and we have the preposition in between the noun and the word modifying it, preposition sandwich, and then we have the main verb arsit. So the nuts and bolts of the sentence is caput arsit, and then we have a bunch of stuff describing who's caput and where it happens and all that fun stuff. Servi, qui aquam ad restinguendam flammam farebant, you think? Ab regina retenti sunt. We're starting with our subject, servi, nominative plural. Then we've got this nifty qui, which introduces a relative clause, probably talking about the servi, starting at qui, going to farebant. Inside that relative clause, direct object. Then this prepositional phrase, ad restinguendam flammam. Okay, remember, ad plus an nd word means for the purpose of. For the purpose of extinguishing the flame, which kind of makes sense considering the context, they were bringing water. Okay, the slaves who were doing all this to put out the fire, what about them? We haven't gotten to the main verb yet. Well, before we get there, we have this prepositional phrase, ab regina, by the queen. Something was done to the slaves by the queen, and then here is what was done. Retenti sunt. Well, that's kind of surprising considering what's going on, but hey, it's not my head on fire. Mox cum puer e somno excitatus esset, flamma abiet. Soon, and then we've got cum plus something else. Okay, when, since, because, although, and also with. What's going on here? Well, there's no ablative after it, so it's not with. Everything else, we're just going to have to hold on to that thought and see. But we do know we have some sort of cum clause. Inside the cum clause, we have the boy, nominative, prepositional phrase, e somno, excitatus esse. Oh, look, there's our verb, just finishing up this clause. So what kind of a cum clause do we have here? I will let you look at your notes and see, but I bet you it's not an although because there's nothing on the other side of it. Okay, and then the main clause, flamme abiet. Well, that's a relief if it's your head on fire. Tum abducto in secretum viro, tanaquil, videis ne tu hunc puerum inquit, quem tam humili cultu educamus? Let's see what tanaquil does. Well, first we've got abductum, ablative absolute here, right here, prepositional phrase in the middle. And so we translate it with the viro having been abducto in secret. The viro is not just any random man, but it's probably referring to Tarquinius Priscus, who is, of course, the husband, the man, of Tanaquil. So, with this thing having been done to that guy, see what Tanaquil says. Well, first she wants to make sure her husband is paying attention, so she says to him, "Hey, do you see this? Hunc puerum, direct object. Hunc, of course, is modifying puerum. And then we have a relative clause talking about the boy. This boy whom we did this, we do this. And then this is just an ablative noun adjective pair. Lumen profecto portendet eum aliquando nobis praesidium futurum esse. Okay, so Tanaquil is Etruscan, remember, and Etruscans are really big into interpreting funky omens. So, this is your subject, lumen. Adverb here, obviously. Okay, I guess if some kids had lights on fire too, some people, it's obvious what it means. Subject, verb, and then this introduces an indirect statement, starting here, going here. So, subject verbs that, he, meaning the little boy, adverb here. Oh, and we have a double dative construction. So it is he, notice this is a future infinitive, will be for a protection to us. That's how you do a double dative. You get the subject, a form of the verb of being, and two datives. He will be for, or this kid will be for protection to us, i.e. he will be protection to us. Proinde artibus liberalibus erudiendus est. Okay. Artus liberalibus, that's just liberal arts, ablative. And then we've got another ND word, and it is nominative, singular, masculine, so it's a gerundive. And remember, we always translated that as must. So this nominative, masculine, singular thing, probably talking about the little boy whose head was on fire. Servius Tullus, he must be erudiendus in the liberal arts. Ingenium juvenis vere regium erat. Okay, subject ingenium, juvenis, genitive noun modifying it. So whose, personality, spirit, talent, vere, adverb, and then regium is just an adjective. So his personality was truly royal. I guess he's going to be a good king or something, who knows. Tarquinius igitur, ei filiam suam despondit. Subject, adverb, dative noun referring to Servius Tullus, accusative noun adjective pair, and then your verb. So Tarquinius despondit, his daughter, therefore, to him. Etsi anci filii duo antia irati fuerant, quod peregrinus Romae regnabat, tum maior erat indignatio, quoniam servo, iam regnum patere videbatur. Oh yeah, remember these guys, the sons of Ancus? Weren't they little kids when their dad died? And Priscus kind of took over the kingdom while they were little. Well, let's see. There were two of them. Even if those two guys previously, pluperfect, had been irati, why might that be? Quod peregrinus. Remember, Priscus was not a Roman. He was actually Etruscan because a foreigner was ruling where? At Rome. Tum maior, then comparative here. Subject is indignatio. Then the indignation was even greater. Why? Quoniam, since, because servo is dative, and here's your subject. The kingdom. Now, what about the kingdom now? Videbator, what do we do with video in the passive? Oh, it means to seem, S-E-E-M, because the kingdom now seemed, patere, to be open or available, servo, to a slave. That slave being, of course, Servius Tullus, because Servius Tullus is now engaged to the daughter of Tarquinius Priscus. So it looks like anybody can be king but the sons of Ancus. Regem igitur interficere regnumque occupare constituerant. Surprise, surprised. These people don't like who's going to be king, so what do they do about it? Well, we've got a direct object. Therefore, oh, infinitive. What's going on here? Complementary infinitive or an indirect statement? We have to keep going to see because we don't have enough information yet. But something about killing a king, regnumque, and taking over a kingdom. Oh, then there's your main verb. They decided. So they decided to infinitive 1 to this direct object and infinitive 2 to this direct object. Ex pastoribus duo ferocissimi ad facinus delecti in vestibulo regii specie rixae in se omnes apparitores regios converterunt. Oh, we have a really juicy assassination attempt going on here. First of all, let's see. We have this prepositional phrase, from the shepherds. Oh, but the Romans, when they want to talk about like somebody out of the group of shepherds, they'll often use a prepositional phrase and a number. So two from the shepherds. To what? 2 of the fiercest shepherds ever. That's kind of funny if you think about it. 2 of the scariest shepherds ever. Okay, so the 2 most fierce from the shepherds. What about these guys? They're obviously the subject. Oh, and then we have a participial clause talking about them. Apparently they were specifically chosen for this thing. Okay, so let's see how this plan goes with our 2 scary shepherds. Prepositional phrase. In the vestibule of what? Actually, we're going to move that line over here. In the vestibule of the palace. Okay. Ablative. And then we have a genitive modifying that ablative. In se. Okay, se has to refer to the subject of the main verb. So in se, so something about these 2 shepherds are doing something on or towards themselves. That's who the se is referring to. And our shepherds are nominative, so these 2 things with ES's are probably accusative. Okay, because we already have a subject. So all of the royal bodyguards. So that's our direct object here. Don't worry, we'll get it in just a second. And then your main verb. So we've got these super scary shepherds chosen for the task. They converterunt. They did this verb to the direct object. And with this prepositional phrase, or towards themselves. Where do they do this? In the vestibule of the palace. And how did they do it? With the specie rixae. Inde vocati ad regum dicere in vicum usi sunt. So they created this diversion and then they got inside. And then vocati, nominative plural, having been called. Where were they called? Ad regum, you think? Because if you start having a fist fight in someone's house, you might have to talk to the boss of the house. Dicere, well, why is this infinitive? We'll have to hold that in our head and see. In turn, oh, usi sunt. That's why it's infinitive, because you are ordered or you order somebody to do an infinitive. So they were ordered to talk individually to the king. Okay, unus rem exponent. Oh, the shortest sentence you've seen all year. Subject, direct object, verb. Okay, when he explains the thing, I'm assuming it's one shepherd talking to the king about why they were fighting on his doorstep. Okay, dum, while, intentus in eum se rex totus avertit, alter ilatam securum in caput regis dejecit, relicto in vulnere tello, ambo foras fugient. Well, that got really exciting. So, while, okay, and then we have our subject, which is the king, the entire king, intent. Then we have our verb, turned himself, direct object, say, again, referring to the subject of the verb. So the king turned himself towards what? Towards that shepherd who's talking to him. The other shepherd, he had this axe. Elatum is from the fourth principal part. I'll let you look up that word. But I see the root there, ferro tuli latus. I think it's an axe having been smuggled in. And it's accusative. Uh-oh. And this is a problem because it's going apparently onto the head of the king. And how is it going there? The other shepherd threw it. So the other shepherd threw the smuggled in axe where? Towards the king's head. Oh, and then check out this ablative absolute. With the weapon having been left in the guy's wound, which of course is on his head, we have two adverbs, together and outside. Oh, and then your main verb. Notice it's plural because our assassins, there were two of them. So together, the two guys ran away outside. Tarquinium moribundum operatores excipiunt. Illos fugientes lictores comprehendent. Okay, so we have a soon to die, a moribund, about to die Tarquinius as our direct object. What about him? Well, if we have a direct object, because he's accusative, then this es must be nominative plural. So here's our subject. So those guys probably do this to about to die Tarquinius. Illos fugientes, that means the evil shepherds, remember them? Those guys look probably accusative because of the os here. So what about our running away evil shepherds? Oh, the lictores got them. Well, isn't that nice? But it's a little late now, guys. Magnus sequitur populi tumultus, interquem taniquil claudi regiam ubet. Okay, Magnus, nominative singular masculine. We need something like that to go with this. Sequitur, deponent verb. Oh, populi tumultus. There is the thing that Magnus modifies. And populi also goes with tumultus. A ginormous uproar of the people. Probably because the king's got an axe in his head. Just saying. Okay, interquem, prepositional phrase. Oh, taniquil, she shows up. I wonder what she's going to do. Oh, cloudy, passive infinitive, and regiam. Oh, look at that. We've got an infinitive, an accusative, and that's because the word ubet takes an accusative infinitive construction. She orders the palace to be shut up. Apparently, she's probably hoping that no more evil shepherds come in. Servio inde clariter ad se vocato auxilium oravit. So she shuts up the palace because the people are starting to freak out. And then we've got Servius. Remember him? The little boy whose head is no longer on fire and he's all grown up? Is he ablative or dative? I don't know. Let's hold that thought and see. Okay, adverbish, adverbish. Oh, look, prepositional phrase here. Oh, and then we have vocato. Well, when I see that, I know right away that we have an ablative absolute. And who is this say referring to? Well, remember, say always goes back to the subject of the main verb of the sentence. I'm anticipating it's taniquil, because they haven't given us a new subject yet. So with Servius having been called quickly to her, auxilium, direct object, oravit. Yeah, she asked for help. Tuum est regnum inquit, servi, si vir es, non eorum qui alienis manibus pessimum facinus fecerent. Okay, so her husband has an axe in his head, the people are rioting outside, and she calls Servius Tullus and says, okay, the first part of what she says isn't so bad. Tuum est regnum. The kingdom is yours. That part we can handle. If you're a man as opposed to, I don't know, a cat, a dog, or a wimp. But then what's up with this genitive? It actually goes all the way back to the kingdom here. Over here, we have to use an adjective to modify regnum, so that's why tuum is accusative. But here, we're talking about the kingdom possibly belonging to other people, the kingdom of those people. So the kingdom belongs to you, not to those people, or literally the kingdom is yours. It is not a kingdom of those people. And then she gives us a relative clause to describe those other people. Those people who what? With an ablative noun adjective pair here with alienis manibus. And then we have a direct object, pessimum facinus, and then your verb, vacarent, which of course finishes off that relative clause. So the kingdom belongs to you, not to those people who did this thing with that ablative. Erige te deosque duces sequere, qui divina flamma hoc caput clarum futurum esse portenderent. Okay, first thing we see is erige looks imperative to me, and then we've got a direct object. But what is up with the que here? What are we connecting? Are we saying erige te and the gods? No, actually, we've got another imperative. So she's giving him two commands. Command 1, do this here. And command 2 is to sequere, it's another imperative. Sequere the gods as leaders. So follow the gods as leaders. And then we get this nifty relative clause to talk about these gods as leaders. And let's see. Qui divina flamma, okay, noun adjective pair. Divine flame. Hoc capit. So this is ablative. Hoc capit. That is accusative, another noun adjective thing, actually demonstrative adjective, but that's okay. Clarum, oh, it's not just a capit, but it's a famous head. Futurum esse, dude, what's up with this infinitive running around? Why do we have this infinitive running around? Oh, portenderent. Okay, now we've got it. We have a relative clause here, and portenderent is one of those kissing verbs. So inside the kissing verbs, we have this indirect statement. Who, the gods who, with a divine flame, showed that this head in the accusative would be future active infinitive famous. So this head, i.e. your head, would be famous, probably because you're going to save the world from random shepherds with axes. Noli perturbare quod peregrinus es. Okay, wow, look at all these imperatives going on. Noli is how you tell somebody not to do something. It's been a while since we've done that in Latin. Don't, and then it takes an infinitive. Notice this is a passive infinitive, so there's your main verb. Don't be worried, and then a little dependent clause. Don't be worried because you are a foreigner. Etiam nos peregrini regnavimus. Okay, and she's saying, look, I'm a foreigner too. Nos, that's the royal we here. We, peregrini goes with nos, and then regnavimus, first person plural, perfect tense verb. Si propter subitam rem concilia fingere non potas, mea tamen concilia sequere. Oh, isn't that nice? Just in case you don't have a plan on how to fix things after Priscus got stabbed in the head with an axe, I can help you out. So let's see, propter subitam rem, prepositional phrase here, subitam modifies rem. Concilia, that is accusative. Fingere, hey, another infinitive. Oh my goodness, why do we have all these infinitives? Well, because potas takes an infinitive. So your main verb is potas fingere. This is your direct object. So if by chance you can't do this, and then we've got sequere again in the imperative. Follow, however, noun adjective pair, these things here. Cum iam clamor multitudinus vix sostenere posset, tanaquil ex superiore parte regiae populum ita allocuta est. Okay, we'll get to the actual quote in a second. Oh, look at this. We've got cum. Is it when, since, because, although, or with? Hold that thought and we'll have to see. Well, I don't see an ablative noun after it, so it's not with. It looks like just a boring cum. And it ends there with a subjunctive verb. So you can go look and see if you think it's circumstantial or causal. I think it's just describing what's going on. Okay, and inside this cum clause, we have a subject. And multitudinous is genitive, the clamor of the crowd. And then we have the main verb, which takes itself a complementary infinitive, and this is passive. The clamor was scarcely able to be sustained. So apparently Tanaquil is giving all this advice while the people are freaking out and rioting outside. Okay, so what happens next? Tanaquil, prepositional phrase, ex superiore parti regii. I think it's like a balcony or something. Superiore doesn't mean like fancy, but it means a higher part of the palace. So I'm imagining it's like a balcony. Populum, direct object, and then allocuta est. Notice that's a deponent verb. The root is locor, which of course you know is deponent. So here is your verb, and here's your direct object. Cum vulnus regis grave sit, iam tamen ad se reddit. Brevi tempore regem ipsum videbitus. Okay, so Tanaquil is giving a purely propagandistic statement. Okay, notice you've got cum and you have a tamen. So whenever you have cum and tamen together, it's usually a although this, however that, a concessive clause. Notice you also have the subjunctive verb here to guide you towards that concessive clause. Again, cum plus tamen tells you it's always in contrast. So although, let's see, the wound of the king, you know, the guy with an axe in his head, although his wound is nasty, however, okay, he is returning, weird thing here, ad se, to himself, like maybe he's getting better. Brevi tempore, ablative of time, when, you can handle that. Regem ipsum, okay, we've got a direct object there. Notice ipsum is intensifying the king, something about the king himself. Oh, and then here's our main verb. What tense is that verb with a bi and a tis? Or what person is that? That's the all form. I'll let you figure that out though. Interim, vult servium tullium rem publicam administrare. Okay, so Tanaquil is still talking. Walt. Well, who's the Walt? I think she's referring to Priscus with this axe in his head, because up here, Priscus was the subject. He will come back, or he's recovering. Meanwhile, Priscus wants, there's your direct object, Servius Tullius, and he wants Servius Tullius to do this infinitive to the Republica. Itaque Servius per aliquot dies, cum Tarquinius iam mortuus esset, suas opes firmavit. Okay, and so Servius, prepositional phrase, and then we have another cum clause with a subjunctive verb with esset. When, since, because, although, and sometime, or and with. Okay, we know it's not with because there's no ablative. We know it's not although because there's no tamen after it like up here. So it's probably the when, because sort of thing. When Tarquinius was now dead, I anticipate that would be a because Tarquinius was now dead, or when the circumstances describing it, Servius strengthened his own positions. Tum demum, finally, mors regis nuntiata est. Okay, so apparently they didn't tell everybody right away. Regis, of course, modifies mors, and then there's your main verb, nuntiata est. Servius praesidio firmo munitus primus in usu populi voluntate patrum regnavit. Subject here. Munitus is a nominative, singular, perfect passive participle, modifying Servius. Ablative, noun-adjective pair here. Servius, having been strengthened by this thing. He was the first guy to do what? Well, whatever he did it with the in usu of the populace. Notice I like that usu is like a desire, a command, and this is the opposite. So it's like with the not desiring of the populace, and then we have another ablative over here. But with the desire of the Senate, of the patrum, that's genitive plural of the patres, of the senators, what did he do? He ruled.